Hot springs, two words with centuries of meaning. These are the springs, and yes, they are hot, 143 degrees hot and 4,000 years in the making, but we'll get into that later. This region was actually the first federally protected area in 1832, 40 years prior to Yellowstone. So let's begin our exploration in what's been referred to as the Valley of Vapors and the American Spa, Hot Springs National Park. Before Hot Springs, the city, that is, of Hot Springs existed, this entire area was vastly different. If you can just imagine 47 or so open hot springs and all the steam emitting from them, it's no wonder why this unique valley was called the Valley of Vapors. If there ever was a fountain of youth, this had to be it. It's also no wonder why the federal government in 1832 took an unprecedented step setting aside this area as the first U.S. reservation created solely to protect a natural resource. The oldest archaeological evidence considered reliable by researchers as far as American Indians using the hot springs dates back to 1771. But Native Americans did occupy the land included within the park boundaries all the way back to 3,000 years ago. They quarried novaculite here as raw material for stone tools. Water is still the main attraction of why visitors come to Hot Springs National Park. And be as it may, there is still the belief with some that the traces of minerals and an average temperature of 143 degrees give these waters whatever therapeutic properties they may have. But the hot springs did not become hot overnight. Josie, you know, it's hard to imagine for us that this water is, what, 4,000 years old?
That's about right, Chuck. Basically what the scientists tell us is that it takes about 4,000 years, give or take a couple of centuries, for the water to come down as rain, percolate into the earth, go to a depth of about 10 miles, and then slowly but surely come up through the cracks in the earth. As it comes up, it heats up. And so by the time that it gets to surface, in the general area of Bathhouse Row, behind Bathhouse Row, we get 47 hot springs, water that is on average 143 degrees Fahrenheit, and good for bathing and drinking.
Bathhouse Row did not always look like it does today. In fact, there have been about 4 generations of bathhouses. The first were crude wooden shack-like structures which frequently burned or rotted due to the continued exposure to water and steam. By 1921, when the Hot Springs Reservation finally became the 18th National Park, monumental bathhouses were built to cater to the crowds of health seekers who flock to the American Spa at more than $1 million a year. These new establishments spared no expense to make sure bathers would be pampered amidst artful surroundings. It was indeed the golden age of bathing. As modern medicine began curing what the hot springs could not, the bathing business started declining during the 1950s. The bathhouses eventually closed their doors and fell into disrepair. During the 1980s, local citizens and the National Park Service began searching for ways to bring back the bathhouses to their original splendor and purpose. Finally, in 2004, the park received the first of several appropriations to rehabilitate the vacant bathhouses and make them leasable. Today, they are available for lease under the Historic Property Leasing Program. Superintendent Josie Fernandez refers to it as the Renaissance of Bathhouse Row.
I like to call it that way because for many, many years after World War II, the bathing industry started to go into decline, if you will. People could stay home, pop a pill for medicine, and get an x-ray or such, and people stopped coming in the numbers that they used to come to hot springs. However, now people know that cleanliness and good eating habits and exercising is good for you. And we're very fortunate that these beautiful buildings are beginning to be restored and reoccupied by businesses that believe in that philosophy. So for example, last summer, the Quapaw Bathhouse was reopened, and Quapaw Baths and Spa is now offering modern day spa activities in a historic setting, but with a modern flavor. And people can once again take a bath and enjoy themselves. Of course, we also have the Buckstaff Bathhouse, and that still offers the visitors the traditional bathing experience that people used to enjoy.
After you revitalize yourself with a bath or maybe a massage, you may want to try out a portion of the 26 miles of hiking trails that are within the park.
There are of different degrees of difficulty, and some of the trails themselves were designed by a medical doctor from Germany. I believe it was Germany, Dr. Ortel, who designed the trails to be easily accessible for the infirm that used to come to hot springs to take the baths. A lot of people don't realize that at the beginnings of the Hot Springs Reservation and Hot Springs National Park, the baths were prescribed by medical doctors. So if you came with a liver ailment or some such thing, you would be likely to be prescribed set number of baths and a numbered or a colored trail. And so that's what people used to believe, that taking the baths and doing exercise here could potentially cure you of whatever ailed you. So, but the trails are still available, and we encourage people to enjoy them because they're there for them, and walking is good exercise for everyone.
Such as along the Grand Promenade here.
Such as along the Grand Promenade and in front of Bathhouse Row. In fact, it is generally during lunchtime you see a lot of the locals walking one side and making the loop and closing it in the other way and then going back to work.
The trail that we took this particular day is one of my favorites, the Goat Rock Trail, which starts out from the overlook on North Mountain. Backtrack down the road a bit to where the trailhead sign is located. From there, it's an easy hike which will take you down below the overlook. The trail will first open up into flowery glades, offering some great wildflower photo opportunities. Following a couple of switchbacks, the trail does become a little uneven and rocky. After about several hundred feet, you'll pass beneath huge novaculite boulders. Here, Goat Rock itself will be 40 feet above you. A trail sign indicates a rock stairway which will take you to the overlook atop Goat Rock. The sights here offer spectacular views of Indian Mountain, and you probably will want to spend some time to take it all in. Before leaving the park, be sure to stop by the ranger station at Gulfa Gorge Campground and check out Helen Stannard's painting of Goat Rock Overlook. The Buffalo National River, America's first national river, and Arkansas, the natural state, can rightfully lay claim to it. Its beauty is unsurpassed. You see, this river remains the same as early explorers first saw it several hundred years ago. Come along with us and we'll show you why the Buffalo is first and foremost America's river. The Buffalo National River is 135 miles of pristine, protected paradise. Designated by Congress in 1972 as America's first national river, it's one of the few remaining pure, free-flowing streams which has not been significantly altered by industry or man in the lower 48 states. Many people played a role in saving this river. In the beginning, the late Dr. Neil Compton of Bentonville practically led a one-man crusade to keep it from being dammed up. Finally, it was Congressman John Paul Hammerschmidt of Harrison who introduced legislation to save the Buffalo as a free-flowing stream.
I had to try, after I decided that I wanted to leave the Buffalo a free-flowing stream, then I had to develop a political base for that was stronger than the opponents of that idea. I think it's been a great thing, and even today, people that were strongly opposed, now that they've been relocated and reestablished their lives, I think they too think it was probably a good thing.
We're blessed to have something like this. That's been a big part of my life since I was a little kid. I fished on it and learned how to canoe on it and learned all the different types of, hiking and nature, the wildlife. And I was pretty fortunate. I was a Boy Scout growing up, so I spent a lot of time around Camp Orr in the upper part of the river. We're in the middle section here. This is Skull Bluff. I've been fortunate to be here as long as I have. I really don't know what it'd be like to live without it, so it's hard for me to really tell you much of opinion because I've never had to live without something like this. I've been blessed, I would say that.
To really experience this river, you gotta float it, either by john boat, canoe, kayak, raft, or whatever. Just float it, because only then will you truly become a part of it. This particular day, upon the recommendation of our outfitter, we opted to get around in a john boat to cover more scenic miles in a shorter period of time.
This is the way to do it if you just want to sightsee and check everything out, just to get in a boat and run upstream when the river's good. By canoe, I think from Mount Hersey to Woolham, it's about 9 miles. It's a fair day. It's a long shuttle is what the biggest part is. It just takes a while to get from one access area to the next because they're so remote. Mm-hmm. But that's what makes it so pretty, is that it's the most remote part of Arkansas.
And if time really isn't of any great concern, you can do the full-blown river journey of 10 days or more.
We do get a few avid adventurers that like to go and do the whole river. Mm-hmm. We get a few a year, but we don't have as many as we used to get. It seems like most people are day floaters and hikers. A lot of people have started coming up to hike, and kayaking has gotten real popular too on the Buffalo. It seems that people can cover a lot more mileage in a kayak than they can in a canoe, so more people are more interested in trying to see more see as much of the river as they can at one point in time, so they like to come up and get in the kayaks and take a longer stroll and really enjoy the serenity, because you can get away from the crowd in a kayak, because you can do like such longer stretches that you can get what feels like the river almost to yourself.
Whatever you decide on, it's a wise choice to get with one of the river outfitters, especially if you've never been on the river before. Many of them grew up on this river like Ben Milburn and know it like the back of their hand.
I get asked a lot of questions about which part of the river is the most beautiful section of the river. And I have to tell everybody that there's not one section any prettier than the rest. It's all beautiful, you know. So it's tough to, you know, it's tough to say which is what's better than the next, because it's all pretty good. I've had guys from Louisiana come up, and they're used to muddy rivers, and they think the river's a lot shallower than it is. You know, I've seen them step off in 4 or 5 foot deep holes of water thinking that it's ankle deep, and go for a swim, that's pretty amusing when you see somebody do that. But everybody has about the same, you know, they all have about the same response, that they're amazed at how pretty the river is, and they all want to come back and see more of it, because you know, you can't ever get enough of it. I've lived here my entire life and still haven't got too much of it.
But the river is only the beginning of what the entire Buffalo National River area is all about. This river has provided for the livelihood of many previous generations, and the only way you can appreciate that aspect is to visit one of the restored homesteads along the Buffalo, such as the Collier homestead near the Tyler Bend Visitor Center in the middle portion. The Colliers came here from Kentucky during the early 1930s. Theirs was a subsistence farm, as many were back then. It was a hard living, but to them, a good living. Behind the homestead, a quarter-mile-long trail will lead you to 2 spectacular overlooks of the river. In the upper portion near Ponca, you can explore Lost Valley, which is more of a ravine or gorge. First photographed by a National Geographic photographer in 1945, this area became known after that as Lost Valley. This easy to moderate 1-mile hike will take you along towering cliffs and several waterfalls, with Eden Falls being the most impressive. There's also Cobb Cave, which is a large Native American bluff shelter. And at the end of the trail, there's another smaller cave you can explore with an underground waterfall. Just be sure and bring along at least 2 light sources. Also in the Ponca area along Boxley Valley, you can see all the Rocky Mountain elk that were brought into the state during the 1980s. Eastern elk were native to the Buffalo River area, but vanished by the 1840s and are now extinct. Probably the most rugged and difficult area to get through, and the most treacherous if you're not careful or prepared, is along Indian Creek Canyon south of Kyle's Landing. The 5-mile or so trail, if you can follow it, will take you into some of the most untouched wilderness in this section of the country, but it is recommended for experienced hikers only. There are waterfalls galore throughout this region, with unique rock formations such as the Eye of the Needle. Along the lower portion of the river, you can visit the old zinc mining town of Rush, or what's left of it. It now remains as the only ghost town in the nation that's protected by the federal government. For the most awesome and most spectacular scenery along the Buffalo, there are two areas in the upper portion of the river that are a must-see. First, Hemden Hollow Falls. At 220 feet, it's actually the tallest waterfall in mid-America between the Rockies and the Appalachians. There's a 2.5-mile trail that leads to it, very strenuous though, so the easiest would be to float the river and then take another trail from the river, which is only about a 30-minute hike. And finally, we come to the Goat Trail along 500-foot-tall Big Bluff. The scenery here will just literally take your breath away as you hike along a trail that goats did indeed use years ago from a nearby homestead. Taking in the sights here, you quickly begin to realize why it was so extremely important to save the Buffalo River region for future generations.
It really is a treasure of America.
It is. It is. Everybody should come see it at least once. You know.
The Battle of Pea Ridge is considered to be the most decisive battle in the Civil War west of the Mississippi. Control of Missouri was a prime objective of both Union and Confederate forces during the first year of the war.
Fire! Fire!
The Confederates had more men, 16,000 troops, compared to the Union forces, which was, 10,500. And why did the battle turn out the way it did?
Well, the Confederate troops had actually started with 16,000. By the time they got here, it's probably 13,000. People falling out along the way. You can see, today it's cold and snow on the ground. Well, it was exactly the same way in 1862. So a lot of people were hungry, felt on the way. So by the time they got here, they only had 13,000. The Union troops were already here. This is where their supply base was. The Confederate troops had been marching for 3 days. By the time they got here, 3 days on the road in the cold and the snow, exhausted them. They were hungry. They, their energy is all sapped. They're in no condition to fight. And so, even though their generals say, "Let's go," they attack, and did very well on the first day. Here, especially, the Confederate troops came up out of the hollow, charged right through here, right up to the Elkhorn Tavern, and when they got to the barn on the other side of the tavern, saw that it was full of food. They stopped and they ate. So they were so hungry. So that's one reason. They continued the advance. Command post for the Union Army was another mile down the road. They would have taken it, but they were so hungry they stopped here and ate.
And this was the only battle, I guess, in military history where a general made a face about and was successful.
But successful is the key there. It's been tried before, but this is the one where it was successful, yes. Curtis's troops, for the most part, were 3 miles from here. This was the rear of the Union line right here. There was a small detachment of forces here guarding the food. And they did not expect the attack to come this way. Some of his junior officers did think something might be up, and they dropped a lot of trees along the road, slowing down Van Dorn on his way here. But he was able to...
Van Dorn was the general.
Confederate general, right, the Confederate general. And he was slowed down by dropping trees. Drop trees across the road, your cannons can't get through. Your troops have trouble getting through. So they dropped a lot of trees, and so by the time they got up to here, they had pushed through a Union artillery battery down the road. They came up to this battery right here, pushed through this battery also, and that's when they ran into the food, and things kind of slowed down a little bit.
So most of the battle, most of the fighting, all took place here near Elkhorn Tavern.
Well, a lot did. And here and down about half a mile down up the wire road towards Missouri, in the field to about a half mile from to the east of us, over in Clemens Field. A lot of fighting took place there. That was Missouri State Guard troops against the Iowans and Illinoisans, and they fought a set piece battle there. The Union Army retreated when it ran out of ammunition, and they moved back to where their supplies were and got more ammunition. But unfortunately for the Confederate forces, they didn't bring their extra ammunition. It was still in supply wagons miles and miles away.
Now this road that goes behind the tavern here, it had many names, Butterfield Overland Stage Route,
yes.
Telegraph Road, because the telegraph wire that
Right.
ran from Springfield, St. Louis, Missouri, all the way down
To Fort Smith, right.
and of course, section of the Trail of Tears.
Right, the land route of the northern section of the Trail of Tears. So this was primarily a Cherokee route. They came from Georgia and Tennessee, working their way through Tennessee into Missouri, coming back into Arkansas, coming right through here. And this was the last food depot for them on the Ruddick farm. The Ruddicks had owned the Elkhorn Tavern at that time, and this was the last stop where they got their rations before they went off for Indian Territory.
Pea Ridge represents what might be the most well-preserved Civil War battlefield in the United States. To get a good scope of this 4,300-acre site, taking the 7.5-mile auto tour would be well worth your time. The 10 stops along the way are designed to provide information relative to battle action and significant features in each area of the park. The lookout point atop the ridge is especially a must-stop to get an overall perspective of just how large an area the Confederates and Union forces traversed and fought during the two-day battle. Taking the hiking trail, which veers off from the lookout point, will lead you into the more natural areas of the park and into the backcountry, where many of the troops made their way towards Elkhorn Tavern. Pea Ridge National Military Park is also the ideal place for school kids to learn firsthand about the Civul War.
A ball fly out the barrel, the strapping falls off, and the ball just travels by itself. And it's going to travel, this solid shot will travel 1,600 yards before it hits the ground. So this is solid shot. Well, why do you think we'd use solid shot? Why?
Does it have all that stuff on it?
Well, no, the solid shot's good for breaking things. Like if it hits down there, it breaks your wheels. One shot, load! Back. Fire! Ceasefire. What do you think of that?
Wow.
Loud, yeah. Very loud. It would have been a lot louder had it been a real gun. A real gun would have had twice the powder we just fired. We fired 10 ounces of black powder. A real charge would have 20 ounces, and this gun would have rolled backwards, and then somewhere down there, probably the trees, we would have seen the cannonball hit. Fire! 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 Fire!
It's more fun to learn
Yeah.
being actually here than just looking in a book. And it's fun to hear the cannons go off.
Fire! Fire!
It's more cooler in person than in a textbook with just pictures, because you can actually see them go off.
Fire! Fire!
So, what was actually the largest assembly of Confederate troops west of the Mississippi turned out to be a Union victory instead. Today, Elkhorn Tavern stands as a memorial in what was a major turning point in the Civil War in the Trans-Mississippi West here at Pea Ridge. This is the way the earliest explorers first saw what was to become Arkansas Post, from the bow of a canoe.
Exactly. The rivers were the highway, and that's how the Native Americans traveled. And in fact, when Marquette and Joliet first came to the mouth of the Arkansas River, they were greeted with several dozen canoes filled with Quapaw warriors. Fortunately, they'd been told by tribes upriver to hold up the calumet as a peace symbol, and so that the Quapaw would know that they came in peace. And they held up the calumet, and so the Quapaw greeted them and invited them to paddle over to their shore and to their villages. And just a few years later, La Salle and Henri de Tonty would get the same greeting, and they too came in canoes and were met by Quapaw and found them very receptive to establishing a trade relationship with the French. And so they built Arkansas Post next to one of the Quapaw villages.
And I guess the other mode of transportation was by keelboat.
Right, the keelboats came along in the 1700s and were used up even after steamboats came along, because they were very practical boats. A keelboat was the 18-wheeler of its day. It could carry as much as an 18-wheeler truck, maybe even more. They could be anywhere from 40 to 80 feet long, and they weren't that wide, so they could still get in bayous like this one. And the best thing about them was that they could be poled, or they could be paddled, they could be rowed, and they could be sailed like a sailboat. And so you had ways to go upstream and downstream.
Settled by the French in 1686, the remote Post de Arkansas was the first permanent European colony in the lower Mississippi River Valley. The French, being Catholic, constructed crosses at the post. The post played a valuable role in the long struggle between France, Spain, and England for dominance of the lucrative fur trade.
People forget that this area was settled by fur traders, by hunters and trappers. Contrary to popular opinion, farmers didn't settle Arkansas. The fur trade came first, and it ruled for over 100 years. And even after farmers came to begin colonizing the area and settling in the new part of the United States, fur trapping continued to be the way to put money in their pockets, because many of the farmers barely grew enough to support themselves, much less bring in some cash to buy other things with. But through the fur trade, even through the 1940s, my father, as a child, earned pocket money and money for his family through hunting raccoon and other small mammals and selling them at a local Steinberg's in town.
The role of Arkansas Post actually spans 300 years in shaping American history. In 1783, Colbert's Raid took place, which was not only the last battle of the American Revolution on American soil, but also Arkansas's only Revolutionary War event.
Fire! Search, peace!
Colbert was a British loyalist, and he gathered a few other British partisans in Chickasaw and marched over to what is today Arkansas Post National Memorial. Fort Carlos III was the Spanish fort there. They took hostages from some of the nearby homes and shot a couple of the soldiers at Fort Carlos. And after firing the cannons at Colbert's men, they finally decided just to make a big noise and run out the gate and scare them off. And it worked. Colbert and the British ran away.
After Arkansas Post became a part of the United States following the Louisiana Purchase, in 1819 it was selected as the first capital of the new Arkansas Territory and has often been referred to as the birthplace of Arkansas. What you might say was the decline of Arkansas Post happened during the Civil War. In 1863, Union troops destroyed Fort Heiman at the post, ensuring control of the Arkansas River. In the post-Civil War years, declining river traffic and railroads undermined its importance as a port. Today, Arkansas Post National Memorial is a pristine habitat for hundreds of aquatic plant and animal species, and a great way to explore it all is to take advantage of one of the bayou floats that are offered in the spring and fall. From the beginning, it was the European trappers and hunters, along with Quapaw Indians, who were drawn to this area because of its plentiful wildlife. And today, Arkansas Post still offers excellent opportunities for wildlife viewing.
Lots of wildlife, and it does change seasonably. Of course, we get a lot of waterfowl in here during the fall who stay through the winter. And we also have hawks and eagles that come into the area in the fall and stay through the winter months as well. And then in the spring, we have a whole different group that arrive with the spring migrants. Prothonotary warblers and many other songbirds come in the springtime. And so depending on what month you come, you should come back about 3 to 6 months later and you'll see maybe a whole different population here.
Some of that population you may come upon is the American alligator. Once on the brink of extinction, it has made a comeback in Arkansas. In fact, dozens of alligators reside at Arkansas Post, a few of which are 14 feet or more in length, so careful not to get too close. It was one of the first U.S. military posts established in the Louisiana Territory. Overlooking the site where the Arkansas and Poteau rivers meet, the U.S. Army opted this for a fort, and when soldiers arrived here in 1817, they named this site Fort Smith after their commanding officer, Thomas Smith. Today, here at the Fort Smith National Historic Site, you can walk where Mexican War and Civil War soldiers drilled, pause along the Trail of Tears, and witness where justice was served.
The first fort here was a wood stockade, looked like your stereotypical wood stockade military fort that you see back east farther. It only lasted about 8 years. The city of Fort Smith kind of grew up around it, and the influence of liquor and other influences on the soldiers kind of disrupted the military operations. So they moved over into Indian Territory, wasn't farther where it wasn't allowed. It became empty here Of course, the citizens that had moved to Fort Smith were a little upset because all their income moved away from them. So they petitioned Congress. They built the second Fort Smith, which was a very substantial military fort, especially for out west. It had a stone wall around it, big brick buildings. I mean, it was a fairly impressive place. But by that time, most of the hostilities were farther out west, and it became more of a supply base. Supplies would come upriver, which was pretty well, water levels would allow it to come up this far pretty regular. Then from here it was loaded on wagons and went to the forts out in farther west from here. And then during the Civil War, the Union, when the war started, the Confederates came up from Little Rock, took the fort over. The Union left. The Confederates stayed here and launched their military operations into Pea Ridge, Prairie Grove, and on up into Wilson's Creek from here. And then later on, as the war progressed, the Union came out, chased them out, and they stayed here. And it became a Union base for operations for the rest of the war. It was a little bit almost like Vietnam. You know, the Union controlled here. Out in the countryside, it was anybody's guess who was in charge. So it was a rough time during the Civil War in this part of the country.
Probably what this historic site is most well known for is this man, Judge Isaac Parker. For 21 years, he held the bench of the U.S. Court for the Western District of Arkansas. Parker was notorious for his swift Western-style justice and became known as the hanging judge.
Negroes and a few Indians. You better step on inside now.
He's become that way in the 20th century anyhow. You know, during the period when he was here, he was a beloved member of the community. You know, he was on the school board, the first hospital board. He started the first Arkansas State Fair in this part of the country, and so he was an upstanding citizen here, and nobody thought of him as so much as a hanging judge or anything like that. It was when literature and the other stories started in the early 19th or 20th century that all came about.
Parker sentenced more people to hang than any other judge in American history, 160. But less than half of those, only 79, actually walked up these gallows to meet their fate. Fort Smith National Historic Site is also part of the Trail of Tears National Historic Trail. A river overlook interprets the impact of the removal of 5 eastern tribes, the Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Muskogee or Creek, and Seminole.
Arkansas has had members of all 5 tribes that were relocated from the southeast come up the Arkansas River. Here was the last stop before Indian Territory on the river. And they, if the treaty said they would get so much supplies, you know, before they entered Indian Territory, this is where they were issued. And then later on, Fort Smith became the trading center, and folks came here to get their supplies and materials. I mean, the city of Fort Smith, not so much the fort. So that's why it was a nice landing spot high up here on this bluff. The soldiers stayed here, issued the supplies. Then they either went up the river or they could cross right here and go by land. But so a lot of them went on up the river. Obviously, the tribes that were farther over in Oklahoma went as far as they could in those days on the river, and then they had to walk.
On the ground right there behind me. There's a long line of them. Walk a little bit.
With such varied history here, area school groups are constantly being presented with a unique outdoor classroom.
This was the first fort that was built here in Fort Smith as far back as 1817. So the stones that you see there were put there by soldiers that were dressed like I am. Now the soldiers that came here were called riflemen, and they were the elite soldiers of the military during the early 1800s. They were kind of like Army Rangers or Green Berets. Have you guys heard of those kind of soldiers? No? Well, Special Forces? Yeah, Well, these guys were like that. They were the best soldiers that the military had, and they had a reason for sending them here. They sent them here to keep the peace between 2 different Indian tribes, the Cherokee and the Osage. Have you guys ever heard of the Cherokee? Yep. Yeah? How about the Osage? Yep. Oh, very good.
Since this was the site where both Mexican War and Civil War soldiers drilled, students get to experience a little of what that was like.
The thing that's important here is everybody needs to keep it straight up. That way when you turn, you don't bump your buddy in the back of the head, okay? Okay, that's very important. So we're going to go ahead and walk down to the river, and I'm going to take us to the path over there, and we're going to take a walk down to the river. And if you guys start getting tired, let me know, and I'll show you how to carry your rifle in a different way, okay? Okay, so. We're almost there. Company, halt! Left face. Use that direction. Okay, now, when I tell you to order arms, you grasp your musket up here. Now order arms, so put your hand up here and bring it down to your right side. Okay, now, how would you like to have to carry around a real musket that's a lot heavier than that, like mine, all day long? You guys would. Well, it would get exhausting after a while, I know that. Now, another thing about Rifle Regiment is they wear green. You probably wondered about this funny coat, haven't you, while I'm wearing it? Well, it was actually considered an outdoorsman's coat back then. You know how a lot of hunters you see wear those camouflage coats now? Well, this was the equivalent to that back then. And they had yellow trim on it, because that was, the green and yellow were actually colors of the Rifle Regiment. And the idea was if it was green, it could blend in with the woods and they wouldn't be able to see them as well.
Having an experience like this, students gain a greater insight into, say, all the steps that were involved just to prepare a muzzleloader to fire.
All right, cast about. That was actually their order to put it right in front of them. And then prime, you pour your powder down there and you push your bullet in the end. Withdraw rammer. So they would withdraw their rammer. Ram down cartridge, then you ram down the cartridge. Then you come back up to shoulder arms. And then at shoulder arms, you wait for the order make ready. Make ready, you cock it, take aim. They would step into it and fire. Everybody hold their ears. Take aim, fire. There.
As one might guess, a history lesson in this type of setting makes all the difference in the world in a student's retention factor and making sense of it all.
It's a better experience than having to study about it and already knowing about it before you go back to school, so you'll know more.
What do you think about going through all those steps to fire a musket off a rifle?
I wouldn't want to be in a war.
Central High, Little Rock, Arkansas, September 4th, 1957. What happened here on that day should never have happened. Why should someone be barred from entering a school simply because of their skin color? There's not any justification or logic to it. But in 1957, it did happen to 9 students who later became known as the Little Rock 9, and it left them with their own painful history lesson as to why. You see, Central High is not just another National Historic Site, because what happened here basically put on trial America's commitment to its founding principles.
What must have been going through your mind when you came to the front of the school that morning, and what happened?
Well, all the drama and violence that happened on the first day was a real shock to me, because as a 15-year-old, when I signed up to go to Central, I was just going to school. It was 11 blocks from my house. Why not? It's there. Those kind of teenage ways of thinking. So to come into both soldiers lining the sidewalk and a mob, we were sandwiched between those two, was it was very shocking to me. And I was, some of us say we've never recovered from that day. Because I did all the things like pledging allegiance and hiding under the desks from the Russians and all those sort of sang all the songs. And then on that first day of school, I realized it didn't mean me. I've been doing this in error. So that's probably the strongest feeling that I had was, oh my goodness, this was never about me. And I was horrified but fascinated by the women who were screaming obscenities, and so it continues to be something that I think about and sort of interrogate and work on understanding and work at trying to stop it from happening again, although that seemed almost a waste of time, but that's what my life is about.
By taking the Central High bike tour, you'll hear the startling facts behind those black and white images of, say, for example, Elizabeth Eckford, also one of the Little Rock Nine.
So she walked in the middle of all this crowd, in the middle of this street, all the way down to about right where we're standing, and she tried to come in through the soldiers again, and again they told her, you can't come in. And by that time she figured out they weren't here to help her. They were here to keep them out of the school. So she continued walking all the way down to the end of the block, hundreds of people behind her yelling at her, screaming at her. They didn't want her or any of the other 9 inside the school. And she made it all the way down to that building on the end of the corner that used to be a drugstore. And the owner of the drugstore saw her coming and saw hundreds of people behind her, and he locked the door because he didn't want them coming in and messing up his store. And all she wanted to do was get to a payphone and call her mom to come and help her. But she couldn't get in there, so she came back to the other side of the street and she sat on a bus bench. She waited for the city bus to come and take her to her mother's school. And a couple of people sat down next to her. A couple of reporters were here, and one of them sat down next to her and he said, don't let them see you cry. Be brave. And for the rest of the school year, the 9 were very brave.
Well, during the crisis, Daisy Bates, this beautiful woman, was the president of the local and state chapters of the NAACP. And many people herald her as a mentor to the 9. And this house, where we are right now, while the students were out of school when they were being blocked by the Arkansas National Guard, this was like their meeting place. Reporters came here, they got their assignments. It became the Daisy Bates School, essentially.
The final stop of the tour is at the state capitol by the Little Rock Nine statue, strategically located across from the governor's office window.
And Governor Faubus, when he made the decision to keep them out, he sat right there. So that's where, if today Governor Faubus had to sit there, he would have to look out and see the Little Rock Nine. Every governor, whoever has to see, the governor's office is right there from that window. Whoever governor from now on till the end of time has to sit in that chair will have to look down and see the Little Rock Nine. So they always remember that the decisions they make in there should reflect the needs of not just one sect of people, but all people. That's, again, another testament to the statue. And they're 9 life-size statues, and once you walk around, you'll see that each of them have quotes from the Little Rock Nine, their own quotes, and some quoted others.
Needless to say, this is one bike tour that'll leave you with quite an impact.
Can you imagine going to school and nobody liked you and nobody wanted you there, and they were brave and they went anyway? I cannot imagine. I've never experienced anything like that.
Also given the nation a vivid portrait of 9 young African Americans standing up for their rights with a courage beyond their years.
At the Visitor Center, you can listen to the Little Rock Nine telling firsthand their story.
Unlike media today, it appeared that the world media took a moral stand on Little Rock, and they were horrified because there was so much media coverage. Even though we knew the people were crazy, we also knew that they would have to be really crazy to kill one of us in public.
The story of Central High is an ongoing one. As Minnie Jean puts it, we are still far from reaching the dream of Dr. King, and not just in the South.
In the South, in the North, in the East, in the West, we are wallowing again in ignorance, and we like it. So until we do that real educational piece for all our children, we're going to stay in this state of separation.
The pain is very much still there, but Minnie Jean says she's learned to reroute it to educate others.
It's okay to feel the pain. That was the intention in the first place, right? Was to make us feel less than, to hurt our feelings, to hurt us physically. And so I can take that and shift it and say, when we hurt others, for whatever reason, it lasts for a lifetime. So yeah, yeah, I deal with it. But I understand it much better now than I did as a child. And that's the good thing about growing up, is that it becomes manageable. So sometimes I can walk here and be just nonchalant. Other times, it's like it just comes at me and I'm just back there. So yeah, it's a lifelong process. We're saying we're the best. We're not. And we better do something to make ourselves the best. And that's about education, in my opinion. And I think one of the themes of the Central High School National Historic Site is it's about education. So that's for all of us. That's starting early. That's about learning about nonviolence. That's about learning what the cost of segregation can be for all our children. So it is about educating ourselves and others.
So there you have it, Arkansas's national parks. Along with all of our state parks, it's icing on the cake. Go out and enjoy them, explore them, cherish them, and above all, respect them. Others will follow in your footsteps. Experience your America in the natural state.